Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
Enjoy the show!
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline.
That's it. Wow, that's great.
All right. Welcome to Wholesale Hotline. Jerry Norton here. I think I'm the only one holding down the fort tonight. So get ready for an hour and a half of nonstop Jerry action. Maybe Jamil might join us in like 30, 40 minutes. He's trying to get off a plane, I think, and not sure where Pace is. Brent's got something going on. But guys, I just love this time of the week. This is one of the sacrifices I make in work during the evenings because it's 8 o'clock for me right now. But I just love hanging out with Pace, Jamil, Brent. I learned so much from them, and I love hanging out with you guys, and I love being able to talk wholesaling, love talking real estate, and love sharing. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We're going to have a great time. And when there's no one else here to dialogue with, I like to just really hammer out some Q&A, really go deep on as many topics as we can. So, guys, the floor is yours. If you've got questions, things you're working on, things you're stuck on, anything I can help you with, real estate related or not, I'm here, and I want to talk to you about it and see if I can give you some value, bring some help to you tonight. So put your questions in the chat, and I see some familiar faces. It's awesome to see Hugh Boy. So cool that you got to do a podcast today with Rob and Zach or whenever you did that in Arizona. But guys, yeah, I'm excited to be here with you. So let's jump into some Q&A. I don't have control, so I can't pull comments up onto the screen, but I can see them all. So I'm going to be trying to pay attention here in the chat, and would love to just spend a good hour and a half really hammering down on wholesaling real estate or whatever is on your mind. So let's get to it, guys. I saw a question here I thought would be great for the first one. Okay. Justin, is 150,000 population enough to begin wholesaling? So here's some rules I have around your market. And first of all, you start out in this market and then you give it a shot and then you're like, oh, I heard there's an easier market over here. And then you go to a different market, because wholesaling is very geography driven, geographical, meaning if we set up a wholesale operation and everything we do is going to be contingent upon that market, it's going to be driven to that market, from leads to buyers to building a presence in the market. And when you switch markets, it's almost like starting over from scratch. It's restarting an entire business. Now, if that has to happen, fine, but you want to be careful not to do that intentionally or not think that through all the way. So some rules I have around choosing a market is you want to try to get to a big enough of a market to have enough opportunity. And I think that metro market needs to be about 500,000, ideally 1 million. And when I define a market, I mean where you can drive within the market in about 45 minutes. So if you take an area and you draw a circle around it and you can get to the farthest point of that circle in 45 minutes, that's your market. And you want to be close to a major metro market. So if you get out of 45 minutes, maybe an hour from a metro market, what's going to happen is you're going to very easily get good deals, but then you're going to struggle with buyers, because the buyers, for the most part, they stay in the metro markets. And then the further out you get, the less buyers you have. So you can get great deals, but then you're going to have a hard time on your exit. I remember I bought a whole bunch of properties at an auction, and it was they were rural. And I thought I got smoking deals because I bought these for like 20 cents on the dollar. But then when I went to exit the deals, it was very, very challenging because there were very few buyers in those rural markets. Okay, so again, 500 to 1 million population, try to stay within 45 minutes of the metro, like driving distance. Buyers will go about 45 to an hour away for a deal, but then it starts to get harder after that. So Justin, let me know if that answered your question. So Vitaly Salyuk says you actually have 12 kids. Well, I have 10. My wife and I have 10 kids that we birthed, and then we have 2 married children. So we have 2 daughter-in-laws. Our oldest 2 boys are married. So we have daughter-in-laws. So they're like kids. I actually like them more than my sons. So like if I had to pick between the daughter-in-law or the son, I'd pick the daughter-in-law. They're just awesome. I'm just kidding, sort of. But they're great, and they're part of our family. We love them a lot, and we're expecting grandbaby number 1. Our second oldest they're expecting in September. So yeah, Grandpa Jerry coming up here soon. But yeah, and right now we have 9 at home because our third is home from college for the summer. Our second is with us right now. My oldest is managing my hotel in Puerto Rico, so he's the only one, him and his wife, that aren't with us currently. So you better believe it is a full-on operation at the Norton household. We have adults, teens, preteens, kids, littles. We have it all. So it's never a dull moment, and it's a ton of fun. Okay, I need help. So Mike J, I need help getting my first 100K. So it's interesting when you think about this, because one of the things I've learned over the years is, getting your 10th deal is 10 times easier than your first deal, and getting your 100th deal is 100 times easier than your 10th deal. Does that make sense? Because of what happens is you create momentum. So I call this the law of momentum, and momentum means that when you get things in motion, as they gain more motion, it moves even faster. Things happen even easier. So, getting to that first 100,000 can feel like a challenge. Getting to 1 million is even easier. And I think getting to 10 million can happen even faster. When I say easier, not really easier, but faster. So going from 100,000 to 1 million is a lot faster than going from 0 to 100,000. So what does that mean? It just means you got to get the thing rolling, right? Like you're pushing up a hill, and it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back a little bit, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's slow. But you hit the corner and you round the corner and you start going down, and it's like a snowball effect. So it just means you got to keep at it. You just got to keep working down that direction, keep climbing that hill. Make sure you've got a lasso of support, from the top down, pulling you up, good community, good mentors, good people around you. And I think you can get there. So if you're talking about your first 100K deal, or you're talking about making 100,000, breaking the 6-figure mark, there's a process to that, but it all starts with where you're at, and you work from where you're at, and you build on the next step, do the next step, build on the next step. And that's how you grow to 6 figures. And that's also how you grow to 7 figures. Okay. Cepho cash flow. How can I refinance out of a hard money loan with a bankruptcy on my credit? Well, conventional financing is probably going to have a problem with that, especially if it was anytime recently. If it's 8 years or whatever it is. I mean, if you guys know, put in the chat. But there's a time frame from when that bankruptcy happened to where it sort of doesn't affect you anymore. So if you're trying to do a traditional refinance or use traditional financing, they're probably going to have a problem with that refinance, where they're not going to want to do it because of that bankruptcy, which means now you have to go to the non-conventional. Non-conventional is not going to care so much about a bankruptcy. They're going to be more looking at the deal, less about you. Traditional financing, it's all about you and the deal, but mostly about you. Non-traditional financing, it's mostly about the deal and a little bit about you, right? So you have to qualify a lot less if it's unconventional. Private money, other types of DSCR loans that might look at that with that bankruptcy. So you just got to find the right lender. It's probably not going to be cheaper than conventional financing, but it'll help you get out of that hard money loan. Thanks for showing up, Jerry. You're a flipping genius. Thank you, Bray. You guys are awesome. I made it. Just got off a cold call. Can we go over it together? Jeremy B. So Jeremy, let me know about your cold call deal, what you're thinking there. One of the things that I like to do with my community is what I call deal reviews or call reviews. And if you record your call and it's good audio, good video, I want to see the video, not just the audio, then I review the call, I pause it, I talk about what you did and give constructive feedback. It's not as bad as it sounds. I don't beat on you. It's really good feedback so you can learn and get better. And that's how we all learn and get better. If you don't have someone to do that, I highly recommend you find somebody to do that. I recommend, guys, you record every single call you do, even if you're the only one that watches it. I learned so much watching myself because I'm looking at my demeanor, I'm looking at my mannerisms, I'm looking at my tonality, I'm re-listening to what the seller said. Did I feel like I was listening appropriately? Did I answer their question? Would I have said something differently? Like, I can coach myself through my own calls if I just record them and listen to them. But have somebody else listen to it. Record your call. Have someone else that maybe is in that you network with, or somebody you like or trust, or you think they're good at phone sales, and have them listen to it and say, hey, give me feedback. What did you like? What did you not like? Valuable. I mean, you will grow so fast if you can get direct feedback on your calls. And that also goes along with role play. So I also am a big believer in role play. Role play your calls. Set up a scenario, or ask somebody to take on a certain scenario, or don't ask them and let them just kind of roll with it and see how you do when they have objections, or they get hung up on something, or they say something flustering or dumb or whatever. How do you handle through? How do you manage through that? Okay. Brandon W. Tips or recommendations? Oh, wait a minute. I missed one. Kathina Campbell says, best way to wholesale a house that has a lot of land on it, over 5 acres. Well, I mean, if you're going to compare apples to apples, then you have land that has 5 acres, or a house on 5 acres. You need to be looking at other comps that also have acreage. Maybe not exactly 5, but what I do is when I'm looking at a property that's on 5 acres is I'm going to set up filters, and I'm going to say, okay, what else is around here on 5 acres minimum? Or, okay, there's nothing else. I'm the only one in the neighborhood that's got 5 acres, or anywhere within a mile or two that's got 5 acres. What about 2 acres? What about 3 acres? I want to try to get as close to similar as my property. Now, buyers that look at 5 acres, they're going to be looking at a large area. So you can put in your filters a bigger market spread to look for other 5 acre lots. Because think about it. If a buyer goes to market and they're like, yeah, I'd like to get at least 5 acres, they're going to look at land all over the county probably to see if they can find something that fits 5 acres for them. So it doesn't mean necessarily that you can cross major roads, or you can go to another town, but maybe you can. You just want to get your head around it. Like, what else is going on that's on acreage? This is the same with rural. When I look at rural, I'm going to look at a larger geography so that I can try to find similar comps, because I'm not going to have very many if I stay right within, half a mile or whatever necessarily. Okay. So think about comping. Comping is about, is it close in proximity, ideally the same neighborhood? Okay. If it's rural, you got to spread out a little bit, but you want to be proximity to your property. You want to be time frame, 6 months or less typically. And you want to be similar in features, similar square footage, similar year built, similar beds and baths. Nothing's perfect, but you want to be as close to similar as you can. So it's a bit of an art. We want to make it as much of a science, even though it's somewhat of an art to comp. Okay. So those are your 3 big factors: proximity, time frame, like how old are the comps, and what was it there? Oh, similar in features. Okay. Tips or recommendations for getting a job with a wholesale company, acquisition sales, looking to get into the industry, based in Denver. Brandon W., I think that's a great idea. Nothing's better than getting paid commissions to learn on the job for a wholesale operation. Go work for an operation, have them teach you their systems, as long as they're good. Have them teach you their systems, get practice, get paid to work there. Even if you start out as a lead manager and you're just fielding calls and setting appointments, anything. If you need to transition into self-employed or into business owner, the first step there is a commission-based sales position. That's the closest thing to self-employed with some parameters. So you got guardrails around you. You got someone paying for the leads. You got someone giving training and coaching, someone helping you to get off the ground, and it's still in a commission-based environment. So, you learn there, and then when you're ready, you can go out on your own. Try to learn as many different things. Try to be in acquisitions for 6 months, then jump over to disposition for 6 months if they'll let you, right? And be transparent. Like, if you come on and that's your goal, say to that wholesale operator that you're working with, say, look, eventually I want to go out on my own, but I want to learn. I'm willing to work hard. I'll show up. I'll do the work. I'll be teachable, but I'd like a commission-based position. Don't pay me hourly. That's what I would do. Don't pay me hourly. That's going to tell the wholesaler a lot about you. If you say, don't pay me hourly, I want to earn my keep. I want to earn my pay. And they're going to set you up on a commission structure. And then now it's all on you, right? Because they're going to give you leads. Hopefully they're decent leads. And now you got to just prove yourself. But I think that's great, Brandon. I would definitely do that. In fact, in my fast track community, we have a lot of our students that will come on to my operations, and they'll do that capacity. They'll cold call. We'll let them set appointments, like lower level activities, just to get comfortable, get familiar on the phones, and then they can graduate into other things. Life hack tips. Did you see the FTC cracking down on cold calls for wholesaler? I mean, I know they've been cracking down on that for some time now. That's been a very, normal thing. If something new has transpired, life hacks tips, let me know, put something in the chat. Like if there's been something new I haven't heard about it today, so let me know what you're referencing specifically. So Trevor Pontillo said, ran into an interesting situation with one of my deals that I ran by Jordan today. So Jordan's my business partner and helps in my community quite a bit. The park manager or HOA denied my cash buyer due to his credit. The park manager or HOA denied my cash buyer due to his credit. Other than that, we're good to go. Any creative workaround? I'm not following here. The park manager or HOA denied my cash buyer due to his credit. What do you mean denied them? I'm not really following here. Denied him because of his credit. So let me know a little bit more, Trevor, there, what happened. Mike J, tell us about your programs. So guys, I have a mentor coaching program. We call it Fast Track. If you go to fasttrackwithjerry.com, you can see if you apply for that. It's a small community, small group. I like small. I don't like big. It is by application and interview only. Really, we just want to make sure you're coachable, teachable. You're going to show up. You're going to add value. And you're serious. Like, I don't want to work with you if you're not serious. The goal in that program is to go from 0 or first deal to 6 figures, and then 6 figures to 7 figures. So that's the goal there. Part of the program is a lot of training, a lot of tools. There's live part of that with me that we do. And then we do daily live training. One day a week with me, one day a week with my wife. Jordan Budd does a couple days where we're doing live calls, we're dispoing, we're doing, really a lot of hands-on stuff. So it's very, and again, like I said, it's small because I want people to really feel like they have a lot of involvement and they're not lost in the numbers. I just like that. That's my preference. It's not good or bad any other way, but that's just what I like. I have a finder program called 10K Club. We do transactional funding program. We have a lot flipping program. We have a note flipping program. So I have a lot of different things. Whatever you guys are looking to do, if you want to be more involved in, Jerry's world, then just reach out to me. And I'm sure we have a program that would fit for you. Okay. So that's a little bit about that. Let's see here. I need help making my first 20K. So Mike J needs help making his first 100K and his first 20K. So Mike J, I mean, you're in the right spot. Welcome to the journey. Welcome to wholesale real estate. Everybody needs help making their first 20K. It's sort of like asking Michael Jordan, how to dunk a basketball, right? Like, where do we start? So Mike, you got to now enter into the vortex of real estate investing, of wholesaling. You got to go down that rabbit hole. I would recommend staying highly focused. You want to do the big rocks first. You want to do step 1, which is going to be lead generation. Make sure you're generating a lot of leads and, move on down through there. So I released a video on my YouTube channel today, which I think is a really, really good video. It's about 45-minute long video. And I basically walked through the 7 or 8 steps to start wholesaling, from getting your entity to lead generation to marketing to all the things, right? And what I think are the best places to start and how to move through those steps. So it's a very comprehensive video. I think it'd be a great place for you to start. Okay. Please make the 4-day event again. So we are doing a 5-day challenge. I think that starts next week. You can check that out. That was Morty Weeder asked about a 4-day event. A 4-day event. I'm not sure which one you're talking about there. I do some live trainings a couple times a year with my fast track students. So I'm not sure if you're talking about that. And we are doing a challenge, a 5-day, once a day for 5 days challenge. I think that's next week. Let me double check that. I just want to make sure. Yes, it's next week. Okay. So Kitty for Freedom, my market has 4,000 people. Yikes. Too small. Way too small, Kitty. I would be looking for a virtual market if I lived in a population of 4,000. If you're not close to a metro, you're going to need to get a much bigger population so you have a big enough of a sandbox to play in to get enough leads to do enough deals. Okay, so Sam said Vegas is a killer good market. Yeah, so that's a high transaction market for sure. Dr. D. Patel, hi Jerry, I'm following you. I followed your 0 to 60 challenge, but I'm struggling with competition in Miami market. So I need your suggestions on how we can overcome that because I just got started. Yeah, so I don't look at the highly competitive markets as a bad thing. So the Phoenixes, the Vegases, Miami's a competitive market. I mean, all the markets are somewhat competitive, but you got some markets that are overly competitive, meaning there's just a lot of transactions that go on there. So if you think about like a Phoenix, it's a very transient market, a lot of people moving there. So real estate moves. And is that good or bad? I mean, those high transaction markets have a lot of cash buyers. I like to reverse engineer it. I want to go to a market where there's lots of cash buyers because I know if there's lots of cash buyers, I know I'm willing to do the upfront work to get deals. And now my dispo is going to go really well because I know I've got a lot of buyers because I'm in a market that attracts a lot of buyers. So Miami's a high buyer market. What you're doing is you're saying, well, because of competition, acquisitions is harder. Well, yeah, but disposition's easier, right? Like drink your poison. Do you want it to be easy to get deals? Well, if you want easy to get deals, go rural and you can get great deals at 20 cents on the dollar, but then you're gonna have a hard time selling them. Or do you want a market where it's really easy to sell deals because everybody's there and wants them? Well, then it's going to be harder to get deals because it's competitive. There's no both. You got to pick one or the other. And I prefer a high buyer market, high transaction market, because I know that if I can get a good deal, I'm going to have an easy time selling it and I'm going to have an easy time getting good numbers for it. Does that make sense, guys? Let me leave a comment and let me know if that makes sense to you. Okay. Hi, Jerry. I've been trying to use the link to get the scripts, but I never get the emails. I'm in the 10K club. Could that be a reason email doesn't go through? No, it's going to your spam or somewhere because it's all automated and it's going to you. You're just not seeing it. So double check your spam or junk folder. It probably went in there. If you still don't get any of my free resources, I have over 50 free resources, guys, that I give away, all free. Then you can just email support@flippingmastery.com and let my team know like what you're trying to get, and they'll make sure you get it. Okay, support@flippingmastery.com, and that's for any of those free resources. But I'm telling you, it's in your junk folder probably. Okay. Congrats. Okay, so Vitality Sayuk says he comes from a family of 8 kids, so that's cool. Okay, Robert Draper, getting my real estate license because of you, Jerry, for the takedown method and other advantages. Good for you, Robert. Dude, I'm proud of you because you know what that says to me? It says commitment. It says that you're not looking for the easy way out. You're willing to put in some investment into your real estate business, and it's the future. Whether you like it or not, they're requiring licensing. More states are going to require licensing. If not, eventually all states are going to have some form of regulation. Disclosure is the easy one. Licensing is the next one. And we have some states that are going for it altogether, like no more wholesaling. And in that case, you're going to need to take it down. I call it the takedown method. That's where you buy it, no predetermined buyer, clean it, trash it out, put it back on the market and resell it. It seems like no one can stop that from happening. Okay, so that's awesome. And Robert, reach out to us. We have a team that you could join my team once you have your license. And I'm with Real Brokerage, and we do some cool stuff together. So if you're interested, you could do that too. Anonymous no name says, Jerry, love the hat. I can tell you're a patriot. Yeah, I collect American flag hats, t-shirts too. So I'm not kidding, guys. I probably have 100 flag hats with the American flag on the hat. So if you ever see a good one, at a gas station or something, grab it for me. That's where I get all my best hats, at gas stations. Okay. Anyone here doing agent outreach in Las Vegas that I can reach out to? So love that, guys. Squat up in the comments, reach out. There's other people here that you want to network with that might be in your market doing stuff that you want to do stuff with. Yeah, this is Wholesale Hotline, guys, 269. Isn't that crazy? 5 years, over 5 years now. Okay, Cherie, love you. Okay, Cherie's awesome. What's the most overlooked money-making opportunity in the wholesaling space right now? The most overlooked money-making opportunity in the wholesaling space right now. I've been talking about this quite a bit, but I feel like when we look at making money in real estate, let's define that. It's all about how soon you want to make the money. Are you looking for cash as fast as you can? Are you looking at more of a long cycle of cash, coming back to you? I call this the speed of money. So let me back up a second here. There are 3 speeds of money. There's fast speed of money, there's medium speed of money, and there's slow speed of money. Fast speed is wholesaling, medium speed is flipping, slow speed would be anything passive. So rentals, lending, where it's a trickle effect and it's over time, right? It's not big swings, it's little checks, hopefully lots of them coming in. That's that slow passive speed of money. So in the beginning, this is my personal belief. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way or the right way. It's just what I believe wholeheartedly, is that in the beginning of your real estate career, you need to be heavily focused on fast speed money. Monthly, you want to be transacting monthly. You want to be bringing in large sums of money, and you want to do that as fast as you can. You want to get in and out of deals, make as much as you can for the least amount of time, energy, and effort. That's how you want to start the business. You cannot grow, you cannot scale, you cannot build a business if you don't have infusions of cash coming in the door. You got to pad that bank account, because unless there's money coming in, you can't invest in training, you can't invest in tools and systems, you can't bring on team, you can't build a model, you can't do marketing, you can't do anything. Your hands are tied. And so in the beginning, do you need $300 a month in cash flow, or do you need $30,000 a month in cash? You need $30,000 a month in cash, most people. The $300 a month, that's nice, but we're going to worry about that later. Right now, you have to transact. Once you transact, you get good at it, you get consistent at it, money's coming in. Now you can start to divert a little bit of your energy to some medium speed money. Maybe take on a flip. That's going to take you 6 months before you see the return. And you do a little bit of that. Highly focused still on the monthly transactional money, wholesaling. Introduce a little bit of medium speed money, flips. Maybe 1 out of 10 deals, you flip it. You take it, you buy it, you rehab it, you sell it, you go for the big swing. In time, maybe year 3 or 4 or 5, once you got things really dialed in, money's coming in again every month, then start thinking about, I think I want to start to hold on to a property, keep it as a rental, or maybe I'm going to reinvest my cash and I'm going to do a little bit of private money lending, because that's a little bit more on the passive side. So we're going to build smart how we do this. I know so many people, guys, that have 10 rental properties and they're broke and they got no money and their hands are tied. They can't do anything else. And they're out there looking for, some zero down creative deal to grow their business or portfolio, because they got no money. It's all tied up in 10 properties, but they got $1,000 in cash flow or whatever. It's not going to do it. You're not going to move the needle like you want to. Okay. Is that making sense, guys? Leave a comment and say, I get it, Jerry. Fast, medium, slow. It's all in order. It's all got the right place. Nothing's wrong with any of it. It's all timing. All of this is developmental and all of this is timing. And other people have different beliefs. I respect those different beliefs. You're going to hear different things from even the other hosts of this channel might have different ideas. This is just what I believe. I believe you graduate into long-term investing. In the beginning, you've got to create cash. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, I got out of order here. Just want to make sure I'm hitting these up. Oh, Sheree, I don't know that I actually answered your question. So what's the most overlooked money-making opportunity in wholesaling space right now? I mean, this idea of taking down the property, it sort of forced my hand to move in that direction because of regulation. And so I see that as happening more and more and becoming the future of our industry, is where you actually have to buy the dang thing and then sell it. So I've already strategically started moving in that direction. And what I found was we tend to make a lot more money doing that. We tend to make 2 to 4 times as much if I do a takedown and buy it and with no buyer, trash it out, resell it. So I feel like that's sort of like a sleepy strategy that not a lot of people are onto yet. And so that's, I think, probably one wholesale strategy that is very powerful. You've got to get the funding. We're piloting a program right now where we do 100% funding. There are some qualifications to get the 100%, but if that's something you guys are interested in, you have a deal, it needs to be at 70% minimum of the as-is value. There's a few other things we look at, but we will lend 100% of the money to buy that deal. Now it's got to be like 90-day turn, right? Like you got to buy it, get it right back on the market, sell it quick, price it right, sell it quick for that to work well. But that's the strategy. Okay. Let me see where I was. Jerry, how do you know when you have a great deal in a multifamily apartment? Well, I mean, multifamily or any buy and hold asset is going to be income driven. So you stop looking at, you don't value it based on comps necessarily. You value it based on income. So an apartment, the value of an apartment is the revenue it generates. So you have to figure that out. Okay, well, what kind of revenue is this generating? And then where is this at in relation to security and safety? Is this class A, B, or C? Because class A buyers are willing to invest in those at a certain cap rate, same with B and same with C. So it's a whole different animal than residential if you move into multifamily or commercial assets, because you have to learn how to value the asset based on the income it produces. J-Man!
Hey, what's up?
Dude, this has been so boring with just Jerry.
It's been great.
Boring.
I've been waiting backstage for Yvette to add me to the stream, so I was listening to your answers, and I mean, they're phenomenal. What do you mean? I don't know if people understand how lucky they are to basically get like one-on-one time with Jerry. You know what
Guys,
I mean?
leave a comment and say, I'm so glad Jamil's here. This has been the most boring wholesale hotline ever.
Get out of here. How you doing, bro? Good to see you.
Good.
Are you in Tennessee right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a lucky guy. I was at the airport today and I thought to myself, I have a friend with 4 mansions.
Too many. I need to consolidate.
I'm not exaggerating here. He has 4 mansions. And I don't say this because I'm like gloating for him or anything like that. Jerry's not an opulent, like flashy guy. Okay. He's very down to earth. He's super humble, but of course he's doing really great in his life. And I can tell you, he got to this position where he can have homes all over the country. He can have homes in Puerto Rico. He can have homes in Tennessee. He can have homes in Montana. And the reason why Jerry can do that is because he's actually living by the advice that he's giving you. He makes active income from his wholesale company, and that pays all the bills, that pays all the payments, that keeps the pipes going. It keeps, all the things are moving constantly because Jerry's always bringing home an assignment fee here, an assignment fee there, an assignment fee here. And so that adds up. And then you add to that his fix and flips, which he doesn't do little baby fix and flips the way I do. He's doing multi-million-dollar fix and flips. And so when he gets one of those deals closed, he's getting an injection into his bank of $1 million or, somewhere around there. And then he's got his passive income. Jerry, just for my own understanding, how much of your business is passive?
And just to clarify, Jamil, too, when you say passive, I don't generate a lot of passive income through rentals, through real estate.
So mainly lending
And software. So I've got some.
Okay.
I got two softwares, but
yeah. So he's got tech passive income, which is phenomenal, right? Why I love tech is because, you know, like a house, right? It's going to spit out monthly income, but unlike a house, he can sell that tech at 8 to 10 times his earnings per year, right? And so he can't do that on a house. You can do that on a software. Now, he is also getting money from lending. And why is that? Great, because he's incredibly secure. He makes just as much money as sometimes the investor makes on the deal, but he doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. And if the investor F's up, well, then Jerry gets a house at a really good deal because he's not going to fund a deal that he doesn't like, right? And so I'm doubling down on what you said, Jerry, in really like thinking about where our bread is buttered, right? We got to pay attention to these things, which is why having a great active income business, that's the foundation, guys. You don't start building your house with the windows. You start building your house with the foundation, and that's active income, active income, active income.
Yeah, I call that the mother goose, you know, or the mother ship. It's the goose that lays the golden eggs. It's the mother ship, and you protect the mother ship at all costs.
Correct.
Right? Because like you said, the active income is what keeps the lights on. It's what pays the bills. It's what provides the lifestyle. But the other revenue streams, the medium speed, which is flips, and the passive stuff, that's what builds wealth. So, but I think, Jamil, and tell me if you agree with this, I think a lot of people get this all screwed up. And what they get screwed up is they're just a little out of order with things.
Sometimes,
like I look at you, you're building right now a strong co-living portfolio.
Yes.
It's a thing you believe strongly in right now. You're doing a lot of education around it. It's awesome. You believe strongly it's the future of housing because things are so unaffordable, and there's going to be massive demand for that strategy, and the cash flow is insane. Like, you really believe in that. But guys, don't misunderstand when you see Jamil talking about co-living. The wholesale revenue he generates is still paying the bills.
Correct. And I've been in the business over 20 years, bro, before I started getting into rentals.
Right. That's what people maybe miss that I think is important to show. Or, you know, right now we're talking about it. So guys,
now what I don't want people to say, well, what do you mean? It's not good to get a rental here no, that's not what we're saying. We're saying you got to have the whole picture. You've got to look at it all from add a rental, right? Because one of the mistakes I made was I've been paying massive amounts of money to the IRS every year. That's why Jerry Don left to Puerto Rico, because he had a tax strategy by going to Puerto Rico. That's how he mitigated his taxes. How does Pace mitigate his taxes? He owns a boatload of real estate. I didn't do that, right? And so a good mix is what the balance, guys. When you're just too heavy active income like me and you don't have a tax strategy, you end up working half of your life for the IRS, which is not fun, right? And so you've got to be measured. You've got to do this with like a thought process. I got to get some active income deals. I got to get some wholesaling done, you know, bring in 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever that looks like. Now I feel a little bit comfortable. I got a good sub-2 house over here with a low entry fee. Okay, let's do it. But
maybe I keep that one.
Yep. Yeah, but if you got 40 grand in the bank and you got a wholesale, you got a creative deal right now that's going to cost you 40 grand to get into, it might not be the move right now to do it. It might be the move to wholesale that.
Jamil, I got a story of a student that I was coaching, and he did a flip, and he made 100 grand on the flip. And then he ran out and he used that 100 grand as his down payment and bought a rental. And so I said, okay, now what? He's like, well, I'm getting $1,000 a month on my rental, which was great. But he's like, but I got no money. I'm broke again, you know? And I'm like, Dude, you know what you could have done with that $100,000 if you would have reinvested it back into flipping and you bought, that was your down payment to do 3 more flips. And now those 3 flips made another 100 grand. Like you could have rolled forward a lot faster than that one rental and you got no money now, right? He's broke because he spent all the money on the rental. That's kind of what we're talking about, guys. Like, and that was one of his first deals. So he's not like he's got flips coming in on a regular basis. And that's what you and I teach at a high level is how do I create a business that's wholesaling and flipping that I can implement very certain processes and systems. I can build a team around this model. I can step out and be a little bit in the owner's box. Now I can sort of look at everything from a 30,000 foot down perspective. And I've got some breathing room. I can cherry pick now this great deal over here because we got revenue coming in over here. This one we're going to keep, that one we're going to flip. It's all now strategy. Your job should be a strategist. You should be orchestrating all your real estate. And you can't do that unless you're learning how to transact first.
That's that. I mean, there's nothing to add to that. That is the game, guys. That is the game. And figure that out. And that means that you're going to need to be really, 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 really good with your emotions. Because our emotions put us in some troubled waters sometimes. We get excitement. Excitement and enthusiasm is so much fun, but it's really hard when it pushes you into deals that might be out of order for you at the moment.
Yeah, and Jamil, I try to do something that you do really well, which is, when you're an acquisition company, you got all the options now.
That's it,
right? Like, oh man, this one's a home run deal. I'm keeping this baby. Oh, these ones are singles, doubles, or triples. Let's wholesale those. Man, nothing is better in real estate than having deal flow, being really good at generating leads, being really good at identifying opportunities, and then having options. It's one of the greatest blessings in my real estate business is lots of options. I can say no to things. I can say yes to just certain things, right? And that allows me to then continually raise the bar on what I identify as like good deals or what would make sense to keep. And I see too many people, Jamil, and they do marginal deals. They do really tiny, skinny deals. And there's a fear there of like, well, I got to take on this really tiny deal. Tiny meaning like there's no, it's not juicy, very juicy, but I'm going to take it on because it's something, it's better than nothing. And I don't know when the next opportunity is going to come along. And I think that's a mindset that needs to be shifted. There's so much opportunity all around you. You just got to go create that and identify that.
Absolutely, man. One of the craziest things that I think I've seen is when a wholesaler gets a deal under contract, gets a property under contract. I want to be very mindful of the terms we use because we got to stop calling contracts deals. But he gets a property under contract and is unable to sell it during his option period, and then decides that it should be a takedown deal instead.
Yeah, when it was a bad deal to begin with.
And that's where I want to say, guys, that's not how it goes. Like you've got to think of this in terms of it's choose your own adventure, right? If you put a wholesale deal out and you've got your phone blowing up for it, like I'm talking it like you're getting harassing text messages from people. It's like your phone's blowing up. That's the deal to take down.
Yeah, when 30 people show up to see the house and the cars are down the road to see your deal, that's what you're looking for. That's what you're trying to create.
That's really though. It's the deal. The deal you should take down and wholesale is the deal that every wholesale buyer wanted. Yeah. The deal you should fix and flip is the deal that every wholesale buyer. You don't fix and flip the one you can't sell. You don't take down the one you can't sell, guys. That's not how it works. And I think that's the problem that we're having is that you sell the ones you sell, which is great. But then the ones you don't sell, you're like, well, what do I do with it? Well, on those instances, friends, you either have to go and renegotiate or you got to see where you got it wrong or see what the buyer saw that you didn't see. Why did so many people pass on it, right? What was the problem? And go find out what that problem is and then go to address that problem with your seller or the agent get that property under contract at the price that it should be at, then reconsider a takedown or a fix and flip, or then at that point try to wholesale it and get your fee. But your buyer's list is giving you the temperature of your deal. If
Direct
the buyers
feedback.
are hot for your deal's hot. If the buyers are lukewarm for your deal, the deal is lukewarm. If buyers are cold, you ain't got a deal, homeboy, you got a property.
Or if you're trying to overly sell your deal, like I had a deal, Jamil, where I start outbounding dispo, right? So I'm reaching out, I put it out there, not really much going on. Now I start outbounding buyers, and I'm finding myself like pitching the buyer as to why it's a deal. That's the worst way to wholesale ever. Like, it's just all the fun's gone.
Yep.
You want them chasing you for that deal.
Absolutely. 1,000% want them chasing you for that.
There's a question here, Jamil. Ben Bauer asked about, taking down on market. So stuff listed. Guys, that's not really going to work because it's already on the market. So the market's seen it. The only exception to that might be where you're getting it at such a significant discount off of the list price that when it goes back on the market, the new price is still way below the old price, and it's going to still grab a lot of attention, right? But this is a good indicator that it may not be that great of a deal. If it's listed for, $199.9 and you get the deal for $180, what are you going to do? List it back at $199? Like, it's just not, the market didn't buy it before. Why is it going to buy it now?
I agree.
There better be some compelling reason why the market's going to want it now.
Yep.
Whereas off market, it's a little different. You're getting it direct to seller. The market hasn't seen it yet. So when you bring that on market, now it's brand new inventory that everybody gets excited about.
That's it.
Yep.
It's psychology, guys. What Jerry's giving you right now is a peek into the mind of a buyer who buys a ton of houses, right? You guys got to understand, Jerry also buys deals. I buy deals from wholesalers all the time. And there's just something to it, right? Like I will vet a deal with deeper eyes if it's off market, for sure. I'll vet a deal with deep eyes if it's listed, but it's being offered to me $100,000 below the list price. Then I'll want to see what we got here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's about the only two things that is going to get a guy like me or a guy like Jerry excited. I'm not going to get excited with a property that's listed on the MLS for $100,000 and you're selling it and you've sent it out on your wholesale list for $95,000.
Yeah.
Right. And especially if I'm a buyer on the retail market, you say it's listed at 100 and then you get it negotiated down to 70 and then you close it and now you're into it for 75 and then you go back and list it on the MLS for 85.
You're not gonna make any money. Yeah.
You ain't gonna make money. You're gonna have a holding problem. You're gonna get yourself into a tight play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything in this business gets easier, Jamil, when you contract those deep buys, get those good deals. It's really fascinating. I was working with one of my mentoring students, Jamil, that transacts 7 figures a year, and what they did is they did a side-by-side comparison year over year, and the previous year they did high volume, so they still transacted 7 figures, but they did a lot of transactions, so smaller assignment fees. And then the next year they did half as many transactions the following year.
Okay.
But they made more money doing half as many deals. And I said, well, tell me about life. And they're like, oh my gosh, life was so much better transacting less instead of more. And I said, well, what changed? And he said, we just went in deeper. We spent the same money on marketing. We just went in deeper on our buys. We held out at our number. We walked from contracts if we weren't getting our number. And we were able to do a whole lot less deals, bigger fees, and life was better. So there is a volume play, right? Like some people can do volume and they do well and they say, well, we'll make a lot less, but we'll do a lot more. But just something to think about, guys. Are you a volume model or you're a margin model? Decide and be clear and then be focused on how you're doing that.
I mean, you and I are the greatest examples of the differences between the two, right? Jerry is not a volume guy. He's margin, right? He's going to do fewer deals than we're going to do in Keegley on a volume basis. But I can guarantee you there's months where he's taking home more money than I'm taking home, because he's got less mouths to feed. Doesn't got to have a big office. He ain't got to do all the things, right? And so looking back, I get this question all the time. Looking back, would you still do it? And the answer is yes. But why I would still do it is because I was able to make a different impact by having Keegley be the thing that it is. And it's not about money. If it was only about money, no. If it was only about profitability and money, no, I would have done it the Jerry Norton, the Pace Morby, the Brent Daniels way. I would have stayed small and lean, and I would have done fewer deals, and I would have made bigger spreads, and that's how I would have played it. But because we had a different vision, right? We wanted to bring wholesale to the mainstream and elevate the business model, which we've all been doing here. But it kind of needed to have a gorilla in the business in order for that to be a reality, right? Mm-hmm. And so we grew the gorilla, but that was it. That was really the intentions behind it. And so on a money basis, I still think it's important that you ask yourself these questions.
Do you still like to do volume over margin, or are you now moving in the margin? Like what do you, in 2025, how do you play?
So again, let me give you two examples that I get to watch very closely. I get to watch my company Keegley, which is still doing volume, right? And then I get to watch Natalie, who's not doing volume, but is doing just spreads, right?
And she's a one-person show, like pretty much
one woman show. I help in the background a little bit here and there, but not much because she's independent and wants to handle it on her own, right? And so over the last little while, she's done like 6 wholesale deals in the last month and did over $80,000 in fees, right? And so I see that and I'm like, dang, that's amazing, right? And then I look at the Keegley side, and of course it's great, but we're doing a lot of work for $5,000. A lot of work, and we're not guaranteed the deal either, because somebody could go off and sell it on their own, and then now we're SOL, right? And so there's a lot of I prefer? I like the margin game these days. If I'm being honest, that's what I like.
Yeah. Well, isn't this fun though? Like, guys, I love Wholesale Hotline because Jamil's going to shoot straight with you. I'm going to shoot straight with you. We make a lot of mistakes. We've changed a lot. I've changed a lot over the years on what I used to do, what I do today. I'm heavy on appointment. I've been virtual for years and years and years, where I never saw the property, never actually met anybody. And we're now trying to do a little more appointment, or a lot more appointment model, where we're belly to belly, face to face. I think you create a competitive advantage that way. I don't know, Jamil, how much with Keegley are you meeting buyers, or is it all, phone conversations and text and email?
No, we still have to be on site and meet buyers at properties, because at the end of the day, there's still the dynamic of either an agent being at the property or a seller being at the property, and then a buyer needing to be babysat. If you just send a buyer in to go see a house and there's a seller there or there's an agent there, they're going to blow your deal up. They're going to blow your deal up. That's just what's going to happen. And so you got to send manpower out there to monitor the situation. So we're belly to belly for sales on flipping the contract, but we're not belly to belly on the acquisitions.
Yeah. And you're able to build relationships fairly well. I mean, you guys are very relationship driven. Like the Keegley guys that I work with, they reach out to me all the time. They follow up with me. They're checking in with me. Like, they're great at networking, and I don't need to meet those guys. I feel like I know them well, just because they're so good at the follow up. Right. So, and
you would be a buyer we'd be comfortable sending to a property without a chaperone. Yeah. Right. It's only the buyers that you don't know really well, that you're just building a relationship with, that they need to see you anyways to make sure that, they know who you are and you know who they are. But, and over time, you don't got to chaperone all the showings, but in the beginning, it's pretty important you do.
So, Jamil, I'd love to ask you, I'm getting this question a lot lately, especially since I talk about this often. You're talking about it fairly often. and that's around regulation and the future of our industry. Where do you see wholesale real estate in 5 years from now? Where do you think we're heading?
I think if what we are wanting to do happens fast enough, which it looks like we're moving and shaking right now, right? We've been spending money, we've been having meetings, time. It's been resources of ours that have been going on in the background here to put this thing together. If we're successful, Jerry, if we're successful in creating a National Wholesalers Association, which would be the NWA, by the way, just wanted to put that out there as I was thinking of wait, hold on a second. What does that stand for? So if we were to create NWA, I think that the business of wholesaling will not be fragmented. I don't think wholesaling is going to disappear and completely be wiped off the face of America, in one fell swoop. No, I think without an association, I think wholesaling becomes very fragmented, meaning every state is going to have its own little rules, its own little ecosystem, and virtual wholesaling will be a thing of the past. I think you will absolutely have to have disclosures. You're going to have to share information with your sellers, share information with your buyers. Everybody's going to need to know what's going on in the transaction at a bare minimum. And I also believe that there's a high likelihood that we will have more states than not requiring a real estate license to transact. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think it's going to be banned. But I do believe that the few who have taken the measures to ban it, I mean, they've done what they've done already. The others have kind of already given their opinion, and they don't love it, but they're not going to kill it. They're just going to make it difficult, which is fine. I do think that because this fragmented business model, or this fragmented version of wholesaling, which is what this is evolving into, is likely a reality, we're just going to see a lot more capital needed to do this business model. I think there's going to be a lot more private loans that are going to be needed to close deals. I think transactional funding will be as important to the business model as hard money loans. I think the assignments are likely in the next 5 years to be a thing of the past. I think things like that are going to change for sure.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, Jamil, I think wholesale real estate is going to move away from this very low commitment, low risk, low involvement model to some skin in the game. You're going to have to commit to the business a whole lot more. Maybe that means you got to go get a real estate license and go through the pre-licensing class, and you got to spend the money to pass the test and maintain a license. Maybe it's you got to make sure you've got the right contracts, the right disclosures. It may mean that you've got to get some capital behind you, and you're working with some private money or some other people that have the capital, and you're partnering with them. Like, you're going to have to get more involved in the business. And I think the zero risk, zero commitment model is going to go away. I mean, there's people right now, Jamil, that come in droves into our industry, and they don't want to put any earnest money down. They don't want to they don't want to spend any money on marketing. They don't want to set up an LLC. They just want to go somehow. They just want to make a bunch of money without putting anything in. And I think we're going to be moving away from that. I think it's going to become more of a higher commitment, a bigger barrier to entry than what we're used to or what we've seen.
And that's not a problem, Jerry. I think the problem is we got popular.
Yeah.
The business model got popular for good reasons. It will change your life. But something that is so powerful that can make the kind of money that it makes, that is that can change your life should be treated with respect.
Yeah. And there should be a sacrifice.
There should be a sacrifice. You can't do this without any training. You can't do this without learning the ropes. And I know someone's going to send me a message and say, you just want people to buy your course. No, that's not what this is about.
This will end up costing you and I and the others thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
You guys, it's a nonprofit. We don't see a dime of the money. It all goes, you know what I mean? Like, how is this even
costs? Everything. It is not. Look, guys, just our administrator has a salary of 20 grand. Just our administrator. That we all had to pony up money to do this. We all had to pony up money for the registrations. We're going to be ponying money up and up. And as we built out the model, we realized that there's probably no chance of this thing even breaking even. So what does that
and Jamil, that's just to operate the dang thing. For us to do any impact, we need a legal fund. Now we need to go get more money so we can hire lawyers that can lobby and fight these laws and have an impact. Like, guys, this costs money to do this. And Jamil and I and some others, Pace and Brent and some others are putting their money where their mouth is. We care. And you know what, guys? I'm fine. Jamil's fine. They could take it away and we'll just pivot and do other things. We're trying to preserve this industry for everybody else coming up the line so that it's still here for our kids and for the next generation.
Right.
And but guys, I mean, everyone's got to get behind this. And we're asking you, anybody watching this, are you willing to pledge and are you willing to pay annual dues to get this thing off the ground and to pay a legal fund and to do some of these things that need to be done? Are you willing to put in a little money, right? Like, that's what's going to take everybody getting involved.
I'm with you. And there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people with, like we got David De Silva in there in the chat. No, you're not throwing you any shade, bro. But he says, yeah, nonprofit. Okay, whatever. Cool. I mean, I guess, David, you haven't seen what things cost in the world. You don't know how much money it requires to engage an attorney to do this type of thing. It's in the thousands. It's in the tens of thousands of dollars. And there's no way to recoup that in fees. There just isn't. And so it is what it is. We don't need it. We are already in a financial level in our lives where if wholesaling went away, it goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would think, guys, if you're coming in for the long game, if you want to be here and make a difference and you want to be prepared, I think a good entrepreneur, Jamil, they're always one step ahead of what's coming down in the economy, regulations, one thing, interest rates, whatever's going to happen. You and I are always trying to see the future and forecast, and everybody here should be doing that too. Forecasting, okay, well, what's the direction we're heading and how do I make sure that I'm in alignment? I would say, guys, that you've got to really nail down your disclosure. You got to really, I would go ahead and preemptively get a real estate license, even if your state isn't requiring it. Why not? I monetize having a license in so many different ways. Absolutely. That'll get you ready. Like, just do the things. Start raising capital. Start talking to private money lenders. I would double close some deals, even if you don't need to, just to get the relationship with a transactional lender, just to get comfortable with the process, just to say I close deals, right? I would do some takedowns. I would start to move in that direction where it's still under the umbrella of flipping, but it's not just the assignment. If you're relying just on the assignment, you're a one-trick pony and you're already at risk because you don't have very many options. You got one play in your playbook and you want to have a few plays in your playbook, right? So how do you start doing that? Do you run for the hills? Do you leave the industry because there's some friction? I mean, a lot of people are, Jamil. They're going to leave the industry because there's some friction, and they should go because they're not committed. No,
that's, look, let's take a looky-loo, right? And I think a looky-loo, it's cool. But if you're not really willing to put in the time, if you're not really willing to get involved and be a true investor, like a true investor, somebody that has stakes in the game, somebody that is putting time into the model, someone who's learning, then you shouldn't really be in the business. I think in that case, then there's way cooler things to watch on the internet than us. Just saying.
But don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Like it's just one more thing to learn, one more thing to do. It's exciting. Like, all of this is evolving. Everything evolves. You don't think AI and technology is going to completely turn us all on our heads in a year from now, 2 years from now? It's probably
already
like embrace it, dude. Everybody needs to embrace it. Embrace the change. Get active. Stand up where you need to stand up. Do the right things. Always learn, and you'll be fine. You'll pivot with the changes and keep going.
That's it. Yeah. I love, I like what David's saying here. He says, no way, I'm already a real estate agent and, I pay fees to NAR and look at what they've done for me. And so that's going to be, that is going to be some people's experience.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding though? NAR has protected its agents better than anyone else has. I mean, commission reform should have happened like 20 years ago. NAR has been able to save agents all the way up until very recently. Those dues have done something. If you're a real estate agent, NAR has done a lot for you. They've lobbied. They protected your commissions when technology and everything else was trying to take it away.
That is a great point. And as somebody who doesn't hold a real estate license, I didn't see that. But you're absolutely right. They have. And at the end of the day, when the lawsuit happened, who got sued? It wasn't the agents who have been, charging sellers for buyer's agent commissions. It was NAR. And why did they find NAR at fault? Because NAR was the group that was upholding that practice. NAR was the group that was really going to town to help the real estate agents continue. And
dude,
so
NAR's been in like what, dozens of lawsuits, like massive lawsuits, and they fight those lawsuits. They fight tooth and nail for their agents.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Look at them right now. They're trying to take down, who do you think is behind all this regulation with wholesaling? It's NAR. They're taking an active role to protect their agents. And so they believe in what they're doing. They believe in that, and they're doing their very best they can. I mean, and then what are we doing? Whoever that guy was that was complaining, what's your suggestion? Sit and watch? All right, then you sit and watch while Jamil and I and everybody else goes to work to do something. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but somebody's going to try.
We did something.
At least we tried. At least I can wake up and say I tried to fix the problem.
Amen.
Okay.
Ooh, those are fun conversations. they get
wild. It was interesting for me to watch the comments on your Instagram reel where you talked about the AZ association we're working on. And, I felt like it was an overwhelming positive response.
Absolutely.
But there was 10% in there that had the negative comments about it.
Yep. And that's, it is what it is. There's always going to be that group of people that just that's humanity.
And everything.
Yep.
All right. What do we got in the comments, guys? What questions do you have?
Here's a good one. From Dan Kozitsky. He says, not to deviate the convo too much, but if you were rebuilding Keegley from scratch, what one thing would you do differently to build and scale faster and easier? Ooh,
great question.
It's a great question. So, I think one of the things that I would have done faster is I would have looked at our efficiencies faster. We have had people who have worked or come and seen my operation and have been around it before. If you've ever worked at Keegley, you will know that we don't let people go very easily. We hang on to talent sometimes for way too long. When that individual has stopped performing or that individual is not doing what they were hired to do. And so I would say the number one thing that I would do differently to start again would be to have a process in which we felt okay with letting somebody go that we brought on. I would say for the first 7 years of our operation, we had the opinion that if you get a job at Keegley, that it should be as hard to leave as a government job. And you know what that did? Unfortunately for us, Jerry, is it demotivated people to perform. We had performers that came in, they performed out the gate, they got comfortable, and then they just stopped showing up. And so when that happens, there has to be performance plans and there needs to be people let go so that there's a culture of excellence, not a culture of entitlement, you know? Yeah. And that's what I think happened. I think that we've definitely righted the ship. We've done a lot better as of late in the last, couple of years. Hunter, our CEO, has done a great job of making the company very efficient. We are not bloated in our staffing. We're not bloated in our software and all of the little fees that we have to pay for this and that and this and that and this and that. And he's really, really good at making sure that our math makes sense and that we're not overpaying people or underpaying people. And so I would have looked at efficiencies much faster. So that would be the one thing that I think we could have done better. To be more profitable and to have scaled faster. And I think another thing that could have been done quicker was franchising faster. We spent too many years trying to build physical locations in new markets, and that model is just flawed. The real model is the franchise licensing model, where you build the brand and you build the practices and you build the systems, and then you let somebody license your systems and your name and allow them to do business jointly with you. So I would have franchised faster and I would have gotten to the efficiencies quicker. Those are the two changes I would have made.
Yeah. Do you feel like, Jamil, in the beginning, it was sort of like the gut check hire, like you feel it feels good, so you're hired, versus like going through personality profiling and proficiency testing and, making sure that you got the right person in the right seat. All of that is
absolutely. We did that like way too late.
Slow to hire, fast to fire, more.
We were opposite, because I don't know if you remember this. Most of the people that we hired came from our places of worship. And that was just how Keegley started, right? Like it was everybody came from our churches.
Yeah.
And so, I think
about that.
Right. And it's really tough. It's really hard to fire somebody that you got to see every Sunday.
Yeah.
It just is.
So true.
So it caused some problems. It just did. It caused some problems. And I think we should have been doing personality tests faster. That would have been a very smart thing to do. We shouldn't have just been hiring people based off of nepotism and friendships and affinity to, our where we pray. We should have had more of a meritocracy. And that didn't evolve until later on. It is now. It's very much that now. But it didn't start that way. It started, friends, and it started with a lot of that, and that just became hard, and we wasted millions. We burnt millions on entitlement.
That's a great lesson, guys, for everybody listening. A really great lesson. Jamil, I've got a question here. William Davis, is starting off as a bird dog a good idea or a bad idea?
I think starting off as a bird dog is a great idea.
Same with the commission position on a wholesale operation, right? We had that question earlier. Yeah,
absolutely. If you can put yourself into a situation where you're working for somebody or you're working with somebody that you can trust and that's gonna like perform and step up and do the things with you, yes, all the way yes. Because look, if you're bird dogging for a buyer, like let's just say, again, I'm going to use Jerry for example. You're bird dogging for Jerry. Okay, you send Jerry an address. Jerry sends you a buy price. You go and negotiate it, and you get this thing done. You don't have to worry if Jerry goes into contract with that person directly. You don't got to worry if wholesaling is legal or not. You don't have to worry about assignments. You don't need to worry about disclosures. You don't got to worry about transactional funding. You ain't got to worry about none of that. Because if you're bird dogging, the relationship is already set and that's already been communicated. And so you have no problem with putting Jerry in contract or putting Jerry in contact directly with the person because you've already worked your deal out with Jerry. And so I think in the beginning, it is absolutely to your advantage to bird dog because that it gives you it and it gives you the opportunity to build a strong relationship with your buyer. Guy, I don't know if you know this, Jerry, but when I first started in Arizona, I was bird dogging for John May. Right?
I didn't know that.
That's that's the reason why Pace reached out to me about him, because he was like, I said his name. We've always said not to say his name. Voldemort. Pace reached out to me about Voldemort and said, "Hey, I know you had known this guy. Tell me what you can about him." And so I did bird dog for this guy in the beginning for a while. And did I get treated the best? No. But was I making $5,000 a deal? Yes. And did that put me on my feet and give me a great start? You better believe it. And do I regret ever bird dogging for Voldemort? No. I wouldn't have been where I am today if I didn't do those deals, if I didn't have that war chest built up. There's no chance I would have become this guy if I hadn't done those bird dog deals in the beginning.
Yeah, I answered very similar earlier, Jamil, before you came on, with joining a wholesale operation in like a sales commission position. Same sort of idea. If it's a great operation and they're doing things well, they're going to provide you leads. They're going to provide you training. You're going to get to be on the job. You're going to get constant feedback. And I would move around and try to go from acquisition to disposition, learn all the areas of the business. I would be transparent with that wholesaler. Like, hey, my goal is to go out on my own one day, but I'd love to give it my all here for a while. Like, what a great way to have an environment that's going to allow you to learn and grow without all the risk until you're ready.
Yep.
But
someone's asking, how do they become a bird dog? So how would somebody, I'll give my answer on how somebody could approach me to bird dog for me. And what are the things that I would be looking for? And what are the things I wouldn't be looking for? But let's start with you, Jerry. How does somebody approach you to bird dog for you? And what are things that would be green flags and what are things that would be red flags?
Well, so first of all, we have a bird dog program because I have so many people reaching out to do that you actually have to be in that program if you want to be able to do that. Once you do, it's a very organized program. There's training, there's proof of funds, there's contracts, there's things you need, there's tools and software, and there's also a deal portal. You have to follow all the rules. You got to upload it into the thing. You got to be able to check all the boxes. We're not going to look at it if it's not under contract, things like that. And then we have a buy box sheet, that we update if anything changes. This is exactly the kinds of deals I'm looking for. There's minimum on prices. I'm not gonna buy to fix and flip a $50,000 house in Detroit, like downtown Detroit or something like that, right? There's requirements on how extensive the rehab is, things like that. And every buyer's gonna have their own nuance to what they like, they don't like. Mine's not overly restrictive, but there are some things there that you'll want to learn. And your buyers change over time. Like my buy box today is different than it was 5 or 10 years ago or whatever. Jamil's has probably evolved in time. And if you're working with buyers, they're going to evolve in time. So you want to stay close to that. But what's great about me is it's like, here's what I want. Go find it. As long as it checks all the boxes, I'll buy it. I'll pay you. So then you can sort of, you go at this business now from an angle of, I don't got to worry about dispo. I don't got to worry about a buyer. I don't got to worry about, like you said, Jamil, funding or any of these other things. Mm-hmm. I can just go to work and find a good deal. And I found that a lot of people really like that because it's like hyper focus on one thing. Don't worry about everything else. I got a buyer ready to go. And so that when Jamil says bird dog, that's what he means by that is have a buyer or a few buyers or whatever that you understand what they're looking for. You know all their criteria. And now you're going to go to work to find something that matches what they're looking for. And there's some technicality here. You can contract it and bring it to them. That's not technically bird dogging, but you're going to bring that lead to them and then they're going to pick it up from there and run with it. And they're going to pay you a fee.
Yes. Yep. Any red flags that somebody would exhibit that would make you shy away from letting them bird dog for you, Jerry?
I don't like daisy chains. I want just because it's not that you can't it's just, 9 out of 10 are just drama and problems. And I just feel like we waste so much time. So we require that if you're bringing me a deal that you're direct on the contract. It's not somebody else's contract.
Yep.
I'm all about what's great about me, Jamil, is I'll buy on market. I have no problem on market. I love on market. It's got a pencil. Don't bring me something that doesn't pencil, but that's same with off market. It's got a pencil, right? But a lot of people like that about me because, you have buyers in the market that just for whatever reason don't like on market and I do. So that's great. I really try to discourage people from like the heavy gut projects because what happens is Jamil, is people bring me a deal and they're like, here's this deal. The numbers work because the rehab is 75. And I'm like, the rehab's 150. It's not 75. This thing's, needs everything top to bottom. I got to blow out walls. I got to, rebuild this thing from the ground up practically. And so a lot of times those heavy, big projects, people are just way off on the realistic numbers. I think too, guys, like one way that you can have a higher chance of getting deals through is stay like post, 1960, the pre-1960s, man, those are the same thing. They're like, you got to rewire the house. They got foundational problems. Like,
yeah, there's a lot.
And so you bring me something in Kansas City that was built in 1900 and is 2,000 square feet. Dude, I got to factor in $100,000 to do that thing, because just know it's going to be, So because you're going to have unlevel floors, you're going to have all kinds of problems. You're going to uncover it all when you're in the middle of rehabbing it. Versus like a 1975 bricker, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to get your head around it. So your chances are going to increase that someone's going to want that deal. Yeah, those are a couple of things that are sticking out. But the two biggest reasons why people they overcontract, they get the ARV wrong and they get repairs wrong. Those are the two places that you can really just mess it up. Is you're off on your back end value and you're off on your repairs.
I mean that's really the truth, right? You either contract it too high because you don't know how much it's going to cost and you don't know what it's going to be sold for after the fact because you got it wrong. All right. So for me, bird dogging for me, right? What are the things? I'm specifically in certain markets. So I'm not going to do deals outside of where I'm personally buying. I'm only personally buying right now in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you want a bird dog for this guy specifically, I'm buying in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm only buying specific types of properties. I'm buying homes for my co-living portfolio. And that means that I'm looking on the west side of Phoenix and then the south side of Phoenix. And I want them to be between 1,300 and 2,000 square feet. And I ain't paying $1 more than $250 for the house. And so
pretty specific.
It's very specific. And so how has that helped me? Well, I've gotten people who have taken the order and they're starting to fill the order with me now. And I've done a handful of deals over the last 7 days that were exactly what I was asking for, right? And so I love that because just like you, I will buy on market. Just like you, I will buy other wholesalers' deals, so it doesn't necessarily need to be direct with me, which I understand, Jerry, why you're saying that. It's, for me, it's okay. As long as the math makes sense. If there's 6 wholesalers behind you, it's also fine with me. It just has to be at my pricing structure, and then I'm okay. Red flags. If you send me a message that's this long, I'm never reading it. I'm not. I don't have the A attention span, and B, I don't want to. Right? I don't want to read that. And then that tells me that every time you message me, I'm going to get an essay. And I don't want that. I want a few words. I got to keep moving. I got to keep it pushing in my life. I'm not here to read an essay. I don't want chapter 1. I don't want chapter 5, right? It's not, that's just not going to be how I roll, right? So that's the first piece. So red flag for me is just, over communicating, just way too much. We don't need all the backstory. I none of that matters. And if you feel, here's one thing that sometimes people think is like necessary to share. They want to share the story of the house. Okay. Look, the story of the house for me is the address, the bed, bath, a link to pictures, and the price. That's the story.
That's it.
I don't care what happened in the house. Doesn't matter to me who owns it. It doesn't matter to me that the guy from high school, because all of that stuff, friends, that's all of the emotional baggage that you're bringing to the deal, or it's all the emotional baggage that they took and dumped on you that you now think are important for the deal, none of which are important to the deal. The only things that are important to the deal in order for it to get done is address, bed, bath, square footage, link to pics, price.
That's it.
That's all. So green flags. You just listen to what I said, and you only send me deals in Phoenix, and you don't send me chapter books for text messages or DM.
Or send you stuff that's in Tucson or in somewhere you're like not in those areas.
Yeah, now again, do I want to see wholesale deals in Arizona? Yes. Do they have to be only in South and West Phoenix? No, because I'm still a wholesaler here, and I'll do those deals. But I'm sharing my specific. If you just want to work with me now, of course you can work with my company. You can go to Keegley and work with reps there, and you can write them chapter books. That's okay. And if you want to share the story of the house with them, by all means, share away. But I just wanted to tell you how you become my friend.
So Jamil, question here. We're almost out of time here, but this is great for you and I because you and I both do a lot of the agent model. Is Chris Icky, I-C-K-E, Jerry Jamil,
Ikey maybe.
Ikey, I like that. Ikey.
I like Ikey better than Icky.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to call you Icky. He said, "How do you guys respond back to agents when they cuss you out for wholesaling?" Okay. I can't wait to hear your response, Jamil, but that never happens to me. That never happens to me. I don't get cussed out by agents. And so you got to ask yourself, why is an agent cussing you out? So something happened to where you miscommunicated or didn't communicate well enough, or you didn't hold yourself as an authority in the conversation. Something broke down where an agent feels they're compelled and they feel they have the right or whatever's going on, but they feel like they can cuss you out. And so this isn't like some agents cuss you out. What do you do? No, this is, what did you do in this conversation or in this communication that broke down to where an agent is at that place? Because it just doesn't happen to me. And it shouldn't be happening to you either, where you're getting cussed out by an agent. I mean, There might be the 1% rare exception, but I mean, like, you're asking this, like this is happening every day or something. Like, how do I handle getting cussed out by agents?
I think getting cussed out by the agent happens when there's dishonesty.
Yeah,
that it's getting cussed out by the agent is a product of not being transparent and telling the agent one thing and then it being another. Now, someone's going to say to me, Jamil, are you telling me that you tell agents all the time that you're a wholesaler? The reality is I do, before we even go under contract, and I do that in my disclosure statement. I say it in my contract. Buyer is an LLC in the business of doing business for a profit. Buyer may elect to A, wholesale the contract, B, fix and flip the property, C, buy to hold at buyer's sole discretion. And that statement right there that will save you from ever getting cussed out. Because if the agent calls me and says, excuse me, what's happening here? I'll say, pardon me? Well, it looks like you've wholesaled the property. And I'll say, it looks like you don't read your contracts. Yeah. Because on page 8 of the contract, if you look, there is a statement, a disclosure statement right there that tells you exactly how I operate. Sometimes I wholesale, sometimes I fix and flip, sometimes I buy and hold. I don't know what it's going to be until we're under contract.
Yeah, and the reason why an agent would ever be mad about that is because so ask yourself, why are they upset about that? They're upset about that because they have low confidence that you're going to perform on the contract, and they're worried that you're going to back out of the deal and they're going to be left looking stupid to their seller and you're going to ruin their commission. They're not going to get paid. That's what they're worried about. So you haven't done a good job helping that agent feel comfortable in the transaction. So one of the things I'm always doing with agents is I'm conveying confidence. I'm conveying trust. I'm saying to them, look, do you mean that? Do I sometimes assign my contract? Yeah, we do that all the time. But what's your concern? I perform. You're going to get paid. Seller's going to get paid. Everybody's going to get paid. We're going to close on time. What's the concern? Oh, well, once I worked with a wholesaler who backed out of the contract. That's not how I operate. I don't operate that way. Now, if something comes to light that I'm not aware of, that you haven't disclosed to me, or that we find out later, I'm going to be calling you and having a conversation. But we agreed on a number. We're moving forward. At closing, seller gets what we agreed on. You get paid. Everybody wins. So like I'm having that conversation all the time with agents. So they're never mad that they find out later you're wholesaling. That's only when you have a breakdown, or like Jamil said.
Well, what Chris says right now.
They see you on a Facebook. They see their property on a Facebook group and they're freaked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris says that the agent said to him, wholesalers are thieves. Now, I've gotten a couple people on my Instagram saying things like that here and there. I get a couple of comments like that here and there on my YouTube channel as well. And so, you know, those are communists. And so when an agent says to you, wholesalers are thieves, they'd be like, wow, so you think a business, capitalism is thievery? Okay, cool. I didn't know that you work for the Communist Party, but now I understand. I'll be making a report to Trump's team about you in a moment.
Yeah, I'll say, Jamil. Yeah, I once knew a real estate agent who was a real douchebag too. What's your point? I mean, there's stupid wholesalers. Are you telling me that you've never met a stupid agent? So are we doing business together, or what are we doing here? Because I'm not accusing you of being a bad agent. Are all agents bad? No. Are some agents bad? Yes. That's everything in life. You know, are there bad lawyers and good lawyers? Are there good doctors and bad doctors? What is your point, agent? That you once you met a wholesaler that was a bad wholesaler? I know those guys too. Right? So again, guys, it's like, how are you conveying to an agent that you're the real deal? And are you the real deal? And can you stand behind what you do? And that's why I think that, you know, the transition, Jamil, that everyone's going to have to make is you better perform. Like there's no leave with a seller, direct to seller, back out, seller moves on. Maybe you ruin their life. An agent, you screw an agent in an agent transaction. Not only did you kill that deal, that agent's talking to everybody else. You've missed out on future revenue. Like you got to get the agent model right. You got to buy right, and you got to do things right with agents. There is no like, oops, I get a do-over with an agent.
Yep. Yep. And, you know, Jerry and I have a really, really good playlist on Jerry's YouTube channel on if you really, really, really want to learn how to do their agent model correctly, go watch those videos. We did like six
more than that.
Yeah, it is a great series. You will, Jerry, we got to do more of that, by the way. Jamil, we left no rock unturned. We covered every single thing imaginable that could happen on market. We did live calls showing how to do like it's one of my favorite series on the channel. It's really good. Absolutely. So go give that a watch, guys, if that's a model that you guys are after. But outside of that, you know, just don't stress. Don't worry about these regulations coming to take your business. Just do right by your agents, do right by your sellers. And you do that by understanding numbers well. Learn your numbers, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Jerry, what you got going on this week?
Oh, going on this week. The This week we're just home. You know, Mother's Day is Sunday, so we're gonna do a big family thing. We got another kid home, so we got 9 out of the 10 home, and we're having fun. We're playing. I got my barn built and my fences in, and you know, we play with the goats every day. It's just been awesome. It's summer now. I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm going to be in Montana for all of July, and you're going to be out that way too, right? So Jamil, we got to get together and do some more training though. I'm really excited to do that.
I'm absolutely down to do that. For this week, I don't have anything really crazy going on my socials here, guys. Just going to be doing some deals. So if you got any good Phoenix properties, send them my way.
Let's go.
Wholesale
Thank you,
Hotline,
everybody.
Number 269. We're out.
See ya.